But all facing Gimel.
Okay, so Siman Peiches, finishing up Muksa, and then we get into Basis, which is really a continuation of Muksa. So, Paris' favorite subject, one of Paris' favorite subjects. So Tezayin, Nafla Deleka, if a fire fell, Aviram Shalay Yisaraf Ames. I'm sorry, no, Tezvav or Tezayin? No, Tezvav, right? Tezvav.
I'm sorry, I'm looking again. I had to unmute. I think it's Tezvav.
Tezvav, yeah, I'm sorry.
Tezvav, yeah, Tezvav.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, so I jumped ahead. Tezvav, Mace also Latal the Shabbos, and Mace is Muksa on Shabbos. What the Lishman is the Karmi Taftav. So with a mace, basically what you want to do is you want to put the mace on the floor so that it decays less. So, but you can't move the mace. So what you do is you mutter lishman as a kar mitato shelo yisriach. You can take the pillow out from under the mace so that the mace doesn't. I mean, the mace will roll off. But without shelo yasas by shum aver, as long as you don't move any of the avarim of the mace. Let's say the mace's mouth is opening and it keeps opening more and more, which is a bizayin. Kaisher as alechi, you tie up the jaw, the inyan shelo yosef leipasach, so it will not open up anymore. But not to close the mouth. Because if that's the case, then you're moving the aver of the mace, which you're not allowed to do, even though it is being done with a shiner. Fine, that's tezayin. So let's say a fire broke out. And you're afraid that the mace shouldn't burn. So you're allowed to move the mace by putting something mutter on it. You put next to it on the bed or on top of it food. And you take both of them together. All right. Parrots, notice what he leaves out. Need this for Simon. He doesn't say you put the baby on top of the Kitzur leaves out putting the baby. The Gemara talks about putting a baby on top of the mace.
Where Simon was the one having the kid,
Correct, dead babies or something, right?
No, a live baby. Well, the dead baby is also
on the dead body.
You put a live baby on top of the mace, and now you can move the mace. That's what the Gemara brings.
Right. Okay, right.
So the Kitzur's leaving that out. So he must agree with Simon.
Where's Simon? I haven't seen him, by the way. Now you're bringing him up.
Yeah.
In any of the shiurim.
Yeah. Vim ein davar Michael, and if there's no davar Michael, meaning you have no food, manichan alav eza kli, malbush, put a kli on it or clothing, shemuta betiltel, that would be mutter to take, which is what happens nowadays, because most people, when they die, are wearing some form of clothing, in which case you are allowed to move the body to the floor, because there's clothing on there. Vim gam zois ayin, and let's say you don't have either of those, as I'm metaltel, and then you are allowed to move the mace by itself. Benkach or benkach. And in all situations, you can only bring the mace to place where it's mutter to carry. But the place that it's also to carry, don't carry him out. Only through a guy. Anything that's dirty, kagayin, rave, ki, tzaya, all these things, throw up and excrement. Whether it's human or whether it's from chickens, if it's in your house or in your yard, that people are sitting there, you could take them out you're allowed to take it out to the garbage. That's what we call graf sharei. Meaning it's not really a graf sharei. That's coming up. Meaning anything, it's muksa, because there's nothing you could do with this on Shabbos. But you're allowed to move it because it's disgusting. When you move the graf sharei. So a graf sharei is a chamber pot where you use to go to the bathroom, so you don't have to leave to the outhouse. Or the same thing, a cup, a bottle that you urinate into. As long as you still have the kli in your hand, you're allowed to put it back. The same way that we said a few days ago that once the muksa is in your hand, you're allowed to move it. To put it wherever you want. But after you put it down, Also latatale, then it's also to carry it mishum demayas because it's considered disgusting. V'gora mishar muksa machmas miyas, and it's worse than other muksa machmas miyas. Right? Because it's totally out of sight, out of mind. But when you need, let's say you need to bring the pot back into the house, and then it is mutter to put it back. Let's say you want to put water in there that's right for the drink of the behema. You are allowed to bring it back because you have a good reason. You're allowed to take a kli and put it under a leak on Shabbos. And then if that kli gets filled up, then you pour it out and you put it back. That's if the dripping is roy for rechitza. But if the water is disgusting, also litin sham kli, then you can't put a kli there. Because then you're not allowed to make a graf shel rei. Let's say you were over and you put the water there where it's disgusting, then you're still allowed to take it out. Did muksam makom hefsed gadol ayin lael simen pei hey sifdal v'din muksam b'yom v'din muksam machmas mitzvah yivarim yitzashem b'makayim. Okay, so that is muksa. That's the basic of muksa. Now, as a continuation of muksa, is simen pei tes, which is din basis l'davar aser, a very common situation that comes up on Shabbos. Uboy vav seifim, and that has vav seifim, 6 seifim. So aleph kli shaloi shenir chala be'erev Shabbos davar muksa b'kavona. It's your own kli, and you put bedafka muksa on it with kavona. Meaning, let's say you have common examples. You have a table like an end table or a table in your hallway that you put your keys or you put your cell phone down and you're leaving it there for Shabbos. So it was done with kavanah. Now you want to move that table. So that table is a basis. It's a base for muksa, even though the table is not muksa. But since it's holding on to muksa, and you specifically put the muksa there, and your das was that it should be there when Shabbos comes in. Nasa kli basis l'davar asa, then that kli becomes a basis l'davar asa, and you can no longer move it. And let's say for some reason the muksa fell off. So you say, okay, now I have a table. It's got no muksa on it, so why can't I move the table? Still, since the muksa was there ben hashmashas, and then the kli became a basis l'davar asa, it's also to take it the whole day, even if it's l'tzarech kufa l'tzarech mekayim. Remember we said yesterday or 2 days ago that you're allowed to move muksa if you need the muksa or you need the place. All right. So then but the question is wouldn't it be dependent? So the Kitzur is saying you can't move it no matter what. But the chayret should depend on what muksa was on top of that table. Right? If there was a hammer on that table, so the same way you're allowed to move the hammer, you should be able to move the table. All right? Meaning, what are you going to say? You could take the hammer off the table, you can't move the table? The table is only muksa because of the hammer, and you're moving the hammer. All right? Okay, so that's a big tumult in the place. Base. Let's say on this table there was Isser and Heter. So you had your cell phone on there, and you also had challah, let's say. Now the kli, this table, is a base. I don't know if we translated buses. Bus is really the easy way to remember it is a base. So it became a base for something that's aser and l'davar mutter. Ima davar mutter yoser chashuv lois, and then it depends. If the one thing that's mutter is more chashuv to you, which we say it is, like by challah, even though you might have a cell phone that's cost $1,000, but for Shabbos, challah and kiddush and that type of thing is considered more chashuv to you. So, but if the thing is more chashuv to you, mutter l'tatala, meaning more chashuv than the muksa item, then it's mutter l'tatala. But if the thing that's aser is more chashuv to you, then aser l'tatala, then you're not allowed to take it. All right, and if they're equal, then it's aser. Fine. That's why it's always good to take the chalas and put it onto the table before ben hashmashos, so that the table and the tablecloth will be a base for the neiros, which are muksa, and for chalas, which are not muksa. Then you could take the table and move the table if you so choose, because we're going to go with the chalas as a chashivas more than the candles. If you don't do this, and if not, then if there's nothing on the table but candles, so then it's a basas zavar asur that it's at how do you translate it? By itself, meaning that's the only thing that's on there is muksa, basur and batiltal, and therefore it would be also for you to move the table. Again, this does not allow you to move the candles or to move the muksa. It allows you to move the table that the muksa is on. Now, there's an interesting machlokes is because what a lot of people do is they don't want to they want to remove the tablecloth and change it. They don't care about moving the table. So what do you do with the candles then? How can you move the candles? So what some places can say is you take a tray, you put the candles on a tray, and on the tray you put a challah for the bein hashmashos, and then you could actually carry the tray with the candles on it. Others say you can't make the tray is always, if the tray is always meant to be used for the candles, then you can't do this shtick. You'd have to take a new tray that's not normally used for candles, then you could do this shtick. Because if it's a tray that's normally used for candles, so that is a basas lavarasa. That is the definition of it, even if you try to pull a shtick to get it not to be like that. However, if there's a big tzarech, let's say the candle fell on the table, you have to shake it off. You can be samach on the paiskim who hold the loinas bosses elim daita shitishar shama muksa kol yom hashabbos. Meaning, we had said that the definition of a bus is if you want it on their bein hashmashos, which is from when Shabbos starts until nightfall. But and that's enough. And then it's also muksa the whole Shabbos. But there is an opinion that says you have to have wanted it there the entire Shabbos, which many people don't want their candlesticks on the table the entire Shabbos, in which case, even though we don't paskin like this opinion, but you can rely on it. The Kitzur Shulchan is saying you can rely on this opinion if necessary. Right? And the minig is to remove the candlesticks from the table with a goy, and it's not a basis because since the most people have a goy moving the candlesticks off the table Shabbos morning, so therefore they did not have in mind that the muksa should be on there to the whole Shabbos, and you can rely on that. Fine. Shulchan Aruch Shalatanya, because of the Shulchan Aruch Harav, the mappa b'lav achid lo have a basis. The mappa without this is not a basis. Gimel hayamoyes bekis a tougher bebig day. If somebody had money in a wallet that was sewn into his clothing, which is what we have, pockets, and you have money in them, you're allowed to carry the beged, because she'en kol beged nasa basis ela hakis, because the whole beged did not become a basis, only the pocket. Hakis batul legabe a beged, and the pocket is bottled to the beged. You shouldn't wear it in your house for a different reason. You shouldn't wear this thing with the pocket, with the muksa in the pockets, even though theoretically you can, because again, you're not moving the muksa yourself. The muksa is in the pockets. The pockets being moved by the pants. The pants is more chashuv than what's in the pocket. So therefore, you're allowed to walk around in the house. You're theoretically allowed to walk around the house, but the kids is not to do it because we're afraid that you're going to forget that the things are in your pocket and walk through Shusarab. And let's say you're on the way and you have money in your pocket. So then we said, Ayin Lel Samaches, where we said that there are situations where you should just stay home. But if you're afraid that they're going to realize, oh, the Jew is staying home, must be he's got lots of money in his pockets, then you can even go out with that. But if you have a box that's in a table, right, meaning basically a drawer, and there's money in the drawer, also you're not allowed to carry the entire table, because the teva, the box, the drawer is a kli unto itself, and is not batul to the shulchan. The question is, what about a removable drawer? Is a removable drawer a separate entity or is it not? Right. So yeah, so that's a little bit it's a little bit complicated what to do with drawers. Best thing is to, if you know that you need a drawer that has muksa on it, so then make sure you put items in there that are more choshev, and then you're able to open the drawer. Okay, we will stop there. Everybody should have a fine night.